She was my first love, my secret dream, the one who made my heart race with just a smile. But love is never simple. It comes with choices, with fear, with pain. I never thought the girl I once called just a friend would become my wife. I never thought the promises we whispered in the dark would turn into vows spoken before the world. This is not only a love story, it is a story of loss, sacrifice, and fate. The first time I saw her, it was not special for her, but for me, it was unforgettable. She was sitting in the small library of our town. Her hands were moving gently across the pages of a book, and her smile was soft, as if the world outside did not matter. I stood there for a moment just watching her, and I felt something I had never felt before, a pull, the calling, a voice inside saying, "This is the one." At that time, I was just a young man with no big dreams, no heavy wealth, but a simple heart. She was a little different. She had a spark in her eyes, a mix of innocence and courage. We started as strangers, then slowly became friends, sharing small talks about books, music, and life. Our friendship was pure, unplanned, and yet so powerful. Soon, our friendship turned into something deeper. She became my morning thought and my night prayer. We would meet in parks, small cafes, and sometimes just walk under the open sky. Our love was simple, not loud, not dramatic, but real. When I asked her to marry me, she laughed, then cried, then said yes. That moment still lives in my chest like fire. Our wedding was not grand. It was small, filled with close family and a few friends. The hall smelled of fresh flowers. Her dress was not royal, but her beauty made it priceless. When she walked towards me, every sound in the room disappeared. My heart was the only drum I could hear. That day, I felt I had one life. After marriage, our world was small but warm. We lived in a little rented house with 2 rooms and a kitchen. The paint on the walls was not new, but her laughter filled the cracks. Every morning she would make tea, and I would sit on the chair by the window. She would pour it slowly into the cups and sometimes tease me for drinking it too fast. We had small arguments about laundry, about money, about time, but at the end of every fight, there was a smile, a hug, and peace. My wife loved to cook. She would experiment with new dishes. Sometimes they were delicious, sometimes not so much. But I ate everything with love because I knew it was made with love. Our evenings were calm. After work, I would return home tired, but one look at her face would wash away the weight of the day. We would eat together, talk about silly things, and sometimes dream about the future. She dreamed of having a child, a little boy or girl who would run around the house, filling the empty corners with noise and life. I dreamed of buying a small home with our names on the door and a garden where she could plant roses. We were not rich, but we were happy. At least, that is what I thought. There were little things I started to notice, but I told myself not to think too much. She would sometimes stare into the distance, lost in thought. Sometimes her phone would buzz, and she would smile quietly before putting it down. I believed it was nothing, maybe just her friends. Love, you see, makes us blind to small warnings. One evening, while we were sitting in the living room, laughing at a silly TV show, she suddenly fell silent. Her eyes, they looked heavy. I asked her what was wrong. She shook her head and smiled, but the smile did not reach her eyes. That was the first time I felt a small crack, invisible but real. And deep inside, I knew something was about to change. The first year of marriage passed quickly, like a dream. Every day with her felt fresh, full of laughter, care, and small surprises. She would write little notes for me, hide them in my lunchbox, or slip them into my shirt pocket. They were simple lines. "Don't forget to smile today," or "I love you more than the sky." But those notes were like treasures to me. At night, before sleeping, we would talk for hours, not about serious things, but about the little details of our day. She liked to tell me about people she met at the market, funny children she saw playing, or sometimes just what she felt inside her heart. And I listened. Every word was a gift to me. She was not only my wife, she was my best friend, my partner in everything. If I had a bad day at work, she was the first person I wanted to see. If I had good news, she was the first person I wanted to share it with. We had a routine. Monday evenings we cooked together. Friday nights we would go for a walk in the park. Sunday mornings we visited her mother for breakfast. It was simple, but in those simple habits, I found happiness. Her smile was my home. But even in those beautiful days, shadows slowly began to appear. It started small. She would sometimes avoid my eyes when I asked her something. She would say she was just tired or thinking too much about nothing. She started using her phone more, sometimes hiding the screen when I walked close. She laughed at texts I never saw. I told myself, she's just chatting with her friends, don't overthink. One night, while we were eating dinner, I noticed her phone buzzing on the table. She quickly picked it up, turned it face down, and smiled at me nervously. My heart felt strange for a second, but I forced myself to smile back. Love can silence your doubts. I trusted her. She was my wife, my world. I told myself that nothing could be wrong. And then her moods began to change. Sometimes she was warm, sometimes distant. Some days she would hold my hand tightly while walking. Other days she walked ahead, silent, lost in her thoughts. I started to wonder, was she bored of me? Was our marriage not enough? I tried to bring back the spark. I bought her flowers, cooked for her, even planned a surprise weekend trip. She smiled, she hugged me, but deep inside, I felt the distance growing. At night, when she thought I was asleep, I would sometimes hear her crying quietly. When I asked her the next day, she said it was nothing. I wanted to believe her. The love was still there, but something invisible was standing between us. One rainy evening, we were sitting by the window, drinking tea. The sound of rain was heavy outside. She looked at me, her eyes soft but filled with something I could not read. She whispered, "Do you think love changes after marriage?" The question hit me like lightning. I held her hand and said, "No, love doesn't change. It grows." She smiled faintly, but her hand felt cold in mine. That night, when she turned away in bed, I stared at the ceiling, asking myself questions I did not want to ask. And in that silence, I felt the first deep fear. That maybe, just maybe, our story was not as perfect as I believed. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. Our house was still filled with smiles, but it was not the same as before. She started coming home late. Sometimes she said, traffic was bad. Sometimes, I met an old friend. It was just a quick tea. I believed her. I wanted to believe her. But inside, a small voice began to whisper, what if she's hiding something? I tried to ignore that voice, because love makes you blind. At dinner, I noticed she no longer laughed at my jokes the way she used to. She stared at her plate longer. Her phone never left her hand. And when I asked, what are you smiling at? She simply said, nothing important. One night, she got a message late, almost midnight. Her face lit up when she read it. But when I asked who it was, she locked the phone quickly and replied, just my cousin. I nodded, pretending it was fine, but deep in my heart it wasn't. Our conversations became shorter. Instead of talking about dreams and silly things, silence began to fill the space between us. I started to notice how often she dressed up, even when she said she was only going to the market. New perfume, lipstick she never wore before. I told myself, she's just taking care of herself, isn't that what I wanted for her? But the truth was, something felt wrong. One Sunday, while visiting her mother, I saw her whispering on the phone outside. She smiled in a way I hadn't seen in a long time. A smile not for me. When I asked her later, she said, it was just a friend from school. Her explanations were always so simple. Too simple. But my heart still chose to trust. I even blamed myself. Maybe I was not giving her enough time. Maybe I was too busy with work. Maybe I wasn't enough. So I tried harder. I cooked her favorite meals. I planned a surprise movie night. I even bought her a necklace she once admired. She thanked me. She smiled. But her eyes were far away. One evening, while folding laundry, I found a receipt in her coat pocket. It was for a dinner at a restaurant we had never gone to together. 2 meals, 2 glasses of wine. The date was the same night she told me she was with her cousin. My hands shook as I held the paper. For a moment, my chest felt empty, like all the air in the room disappeared. But still, I did not ask. I put the receipt back. I told myself, maybe she went with a friend. Don't accuse her. Don't destroy everything. That night, I kissed her forehead as she slept. But in my heart, a storm was rising. I knew. I didn't want to know, but I knew. Something was breaking, and soon it would shatter completely. Life continued, but not in the way it used to. The love I once felt so clearly was now mixed with doubt. Every smile she gave me, I wondered, was it real or just a mask? I became restless. I checked my phone often when she was out. I looked at the clock again and again. Every late return, every unexplained smile, it felt like knives cutting inside me. But still, I said nothing. I was afraid of the truth, because once you ask, you cannot go back. One evening, we went to a family dinner. Everyone laughed, cousins joked, uncles told old stories. She sat beside me, her hand resting on the table. I reached to hold it, but she quickly pulled it away. She didn't even notice, but I did. My chest tightened. When people asked, how's married life? I forced a smile and replied, perfect. But inside, I was screaming. That night, when we came home, I tried to talk. I said softly, are you happy with me? She looked at me with surprise, then laughed. Why would you ask such a thing? Of course, I'm happy. But her eyes did not match her words. I wanted to believe her. I really did. But deep down, I felt something slipping away. Soon after, small fights began. Not big ones, just small, sharp words. She would say, you're too controlling. Or, you don't understand me. I would stay quiet, not wanting to lose her. But silence is dangerous. Silence lets poison grow. One night, she came home late again. Her hair smelled of perfume, not the one she usually wore. She said, "I was with friends." But when I asked, "Which friends?" she couldn't answer. She only frowned and said, "Why are you questioning me so much?" That night, I didn't sleep. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, my heart heavy. Her breathing beside me was calm, peaceful, but mine was broken. The next morning, I found her phone on the table, unlocked. My hands shook. I didn't want to, but my eyes moved. There were messages, names I didn't know, smiles, hearts, late-night words. I put the phone down quickly. I felt sick. I felt like I had betrayed myself by even looking. And yet, I said nothing, because I was not ready to lose her, because admitting it meant the end. From that day, I began to live two lives. One outside, where I smiled, worked, laughed with friends. And one inside, where every moment was filled with fear, doubt, and pain. I stopped planning the future. I stopped dreaming. I only survived, day by day, pretending everything was fine. But the truth was clear. The bond we once had, the love, the laughter, the warmth, it was dying. And one evening, as I looked at her across the table, I realized something. She was there, but she was not with me anymore. Her body sat in my home, but her heart had already left. Something was going to break, and I knew it was only a matter of time. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. From the outside, we looked like a normal married couple. We smiled in photos. We visited family. We said the right words. But inside, my world was falling apart. I started noticing everything. The way her phone never left her hand. The way she turned it face down when I walked into the room. The way she dressed differently when she went out with friends. I wanted to trust her. I wanted to close my eyes and believe her excuses. But the truth whispered louder and louder inside me. Sometimes, I caught her staring at her screen with a small smile. A secret smile. Not the smile she gave me. Not anymore. One evening, we sat down for dinner. The food was on the table, steam rising, the smell of spices filling the room. But she didn't eat. Her eyes were far away, lost in another place. I asked, "What's wrong?" She looked up quickly, too quickly. "Nothing. I'm just tired." Then she stood up before finishing her plate. The chair scraped loudly against the floor. The sound cut through me like a blade. After she left the room, I sat there in silence. The food grew cold, untouched. The house felt heavy, like the walls knew my pain. That night, lying in bed, I whispered into the dark, "Please don't leave me." But she didn't hear. Or maybe she didn't care. The next day, we visited my mother. My mother smiled, served tea, asked about our life together. I smiled back and said, "Everything is good." But when I looked at my wife, her eyes avoided mine. She stared at the window instead, watching the world outside, as if she wanted to be somewhere else. My mother noticed. She said softly, "Take care of each other. Marriage is not easy." I nodded, but inside I thought, marriage is not supposed to feel like this. Later that night, I heard her talking on the phone. Her voice was low, soft, almost tender. Not the way she spoke to me. My heart pounded in my chest. I couldn't hear the words, but I didn't need to. The tone was enough. When she hung up and came to bed, I pretended to be asleep. But tears slipped down the side of my face, wetting the pillow. I wanted to confront her. I wanted to shout, "Tell me the truth." But fear chained me. Because once the truth came out, my world would collapse. And I wasn't ready. But deep down, I knew something. The break was close. The truth was coming. And when it arrived, nothing in my life would ever be the same again. The night it happened, the air felt heavy. I could not sleep. Something inside me kept whispering, "Check her phone." I hated myself for thinking it. I wanted to trust her. But my hands shook as I reached for the phone on the bedside table while she slept. I unlocked it. My heart raced. And then, I saw the messages. Words that did not belong to me. Words full of sweetness, laughter, secret promises. She called someone else my love. She sent hearts, kisses, photos. My world stopped. I sat there in the dark, reading, my chest tight, my breath broken. It was not one message. It was hundreds, weeks, maybe months, of betrayal written on that glowing screen. She turned in her sleep, unaware that I was holding her secret in my hands. I wanted to scream. I wanted to shake her awake and shout, "How could you do this to me?" But I froze. Tears blurred my vision, dripping down onto the phone. I put it back on the table, gently, as if it burned me. And I lay there beside her, staring at the ceiling, feeling my heart collapse inside my chest. The next morning, I looked at her differently. Her smile felt fake. Her good morning kiss felt cold. Every touch was poison now, every word a lie. At breakfast, I tried to act normal, but the sound of her laughter on the phone cut me like a knife. I knew now who she was laughing with, and it wasn't me. I excused myself, went into the bathroom, and locked the door. I looked into the mirror, and the man looking back at me was broken. His eyes were red, his face pale. He whispered, "She betrayed you." That day, I couldn't focus at work. The betrayal screamed inside my head. I walked through crowds, but I felt alone. I saw couples holding hands, laughing together, and I wanted to cry out. Don't trust them. Love is a lie. When I came home, she asked, "Are you okay?" Her eyes looked almost concerned. Almost. But I couldn't tell if it was real anymore. I mumbled, "I'm fine." But inside, a fire was growing. That night, I lay awake again. I replayed everything. Her late nights, her secret smiles, her lies. It all made sense now. And as I stared at the ceiling, something dark began to take root in me. Not just pain, not just heartbreak, but revenge. I whispered into the silence, "You will pay for this." And for the first time in weeks, I felt strong. Broken, yes, but strong. The next few days felt unreal. I moved through the house like a ghost. I spoke when I had to. I smiled when I had to. But inside, I was screaming. Every laugh she shared on the phone was another stab. Every secret glance at her screen made me sick. She thought I didn't know. She thought I was blind. But I knew. And knowledge is power. I began watching her closely. Every move, every word. I noticed how she dressed better when she went out with friends. I noticed how she guarded her phone like it was treasure. I noticed how her eyes glowed, not for me, but for someone else. And with every detail, my plan grew clearer. One night, I sat alone in the kitchen, a glass of water untouched before me. My mind was racing. Revenge. The word tasted bitter and sweet at the same time. But how? How could I strike back without destroying myself too? I took out a notebook, and I wrote one word at the top of the page, justice. Underneath, I listed possibilities. Expose her affair to her friends and family. Take photos, gather proof. Confront her in public. Leave her without warning. Let her wake up to emptiness. I stared at the list. None of them felt enough. She had burned my soul, and I wanted her to feel that fire. But then another thought crept in, danger. What if I did something reckless? What if she turned people against me? What if she cried and played the victim? Would anyone believe me? The world always loves the one who smiles prettily, who pretends to be innocent. And she was good at pretending. That night, I tested her. I pretended to be asleep, my breathing heavy and steady. And I heard it, her whispered laughter in the dark, her fingers tapping the screen, her soft giggle. She thought I was sleeping beside her. But I was awake, listening, memorizing, burning with rage. I turned slightly, careful not to let her see my eyes open. And in that quiet moment, I knew the first move would be gathering proof. If I was to destroy her lies, I needed evidence. The next morning, while she showered, I unlocked her phone again. This time, I wasn't reading for pain. I was reading for strategy. I took pictures of her messages. I saved screenshots of her promises to him. I copied her words, every heart emoji, every "I miss you." My hands shook, not from sadness this time, but from a strange thrill. This was no longer about heartbreak. This was war. But the fear didn't leave me. What if she caught me? What if he found out? What if someone turned against me, saying I was the villain, not her? I hid the screenshots in a secret folder, buried deep, locked away. It was my weapon, my shield, my truth. And that night, for the first time, I smiled in front of her. She thought I was healing. She thought I was moving on. But I wasn't. I was preparing. The seed of revenge had grown roots. And soon, it would bloom into something unstoppable. I whispered again into the dark, while she slept peacefully beside me. Wait. Just wait. Your world will shatter, like mine did. Days blurred into each other. I moved like an actor on stage, smiling when she looked at me, silent when she was distracted. Inside, I was sharpening my knives. Not the kind made of steel, but the kind made of truth. Proof. Evidence. Secrets. And I had plenty. I tested her once. "Why don't we go out for dinner tonight? Just you and me?" I asked, my voice casual. Her eyes flickered, just for a second. Then came her smile, too wide, too quick. "Oh, I can't. I promised Mom I'd help her tonight." "Mom? At this hour?" I nodded, hiding my smirk, because I already knew. Her phone buzzed. I didn't ask. I didn't need to. That night, I followed her. The city lights blurred past as I drove slowly, headlights dimmed. My heart hammered in my chest. Was this crazy? Yes. Was it dangerous? Absolutely. But I couldn't stop. I watched her car pull up near a cafe. And then I saw him. The man she laughed with, her hand brushing as like they had done it 1,000 times before. The sight burned into me like fire. I gripped the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. Rage screamed inside me. Get out. Drag her away. Scream in his face. But I didn't move.
Not yet.
Because anger without control is weakness. And I wasn't weak anymore. Instead, I took photos. Each one clearer than the last. Her smile. His touch. Her betrayal painted across every pixel. Back home, I stared at the images on my phone. Each one was poison. But each one was power. Still, a question lingered in the back of my mind. What if someone finds out it was me? If people saw these photos, would they call me the bitter one? Would she cry and spin her lies, twisting the story? The danger wasn't just about her. It was about everyone else too. Society loves to protect the guilty when they look innocent. The next morning, she kissed me on the cheek, her lips warm but empty. Don't wait up for me tonight, she said softly. I smiled. Of course. Take your time. She thought I was blind. She thought I was broken. But inside, I was laughing. Because now I had more than pain. I had weapons. I began dropping subtle hints, tiny traps. I dreamt you were leaving me, I said one evening, watching her reaction. She froze for half a second before forcing a laugh. Oh, don't be silly. I'd never leave you.
Lie.
Another day, I asked, do you ever wonder if secrets always come out? Her eyes darted to her phone, then back to me. She shrugged. I don't keep secrets. Another lie. Each test was like a needle, pricking her skin. Small, but sharp enough to make her nervous. And I loved it. The thrill of danger grew. Every step felt like walking on a thin rope over fire. One mistake, and I'd fall. But the risk made my blood race. At night, when she slept beside me, I stared at the ceiling.
What if she caught me?
What if he found out? What if someone accused me of destroying my own marriage? But then I remembered the photos, the messages, the truth. And I whispered to myself, I'm not the destroyer. I'm the mirror. She destroyed herself. That week, I made my first move. A message, anonymous.
Sent to him.
Just 5 words. She lies to you too. No name. No clue.
Just a spark.
And I waited. Would it spread? Would it reach her? Would it burn their perfect little secret? I didn't know. But I felt the ripple begin. And for the first time, I slept peacefully. The morning after the message, I watched her carefully. Her movements were slower. Her smile, forced. Her phone, never leaving her hand.
She was hiding something.
Or maybe she was afraid of something. And I knew exactly what. By afternoon, she snapped at me for no reason. The coffee wasn't hot enough. My shirt wasn't folded properly. Little things. But her irritation wasn't about me. It was about him. Had he asked her questions? Had he shown her the message? I kept my face calm, nodding, apologizing. Inside, I was grinning, because the walls were beginning to shake. 2 nights later, she came home late again. Perfume clung to her skin, stronger than usual, as though she had tried to cover something up. Her eyes avoided mine. Work was exhausting, she said, dropping her bag on the sofa. Long meeting. I need a shower. I leaned back in my chair. Meetings must be very warm these days, I murmured. She froze. A second.
2.
Then forced a laugh. You and your jokes. But her hands trembled as she walked away. She was cracking. The more I tested her, the more her mask slipped. She started asking me strange questions. Do you ever check my phone? No, I said smoothly, hiding the truth. Do you trust me? Of course. She stared at me, her eyes searching, as though she could dig out what I knew. But I gave her nothing, and that silence scared her more than any words could. Then it happened. One evening, her phone buzzed on the table while she was in the kitchen. I glanced. One name lit up the screen. Daniel. My heart didn't break this time. It didn't even flinch. Instead, I picked up the phone and answered. Hello. Silence. Then his voice, low, hesitant. Why did you send me that message? I almost laughed. So, it had reached him. The spark had found its fire. I think you already know the answer, I said quietly, and hung up. When she returned, her phone was exactly where she had left it. But her little world had just started burning. The days after were delicious chaos. Her calls grew longer, more urgent, more secretive. Her temper snapped easily. She avoided my eyes, avoided conversations, avoided herself. And I played the part of the clueless husband. Loving, gentle, unaware. But at night, when she slept, I could almost hear her heart pounding in fear. The guilt was eating her alive. Still, a thought haunted me. What if she discovers it was me? If she traced the message, if she found the photos, if she realized I was watching? What then? Would she turn against me? Would she paint me as obsessive, controlling, cruel? The danger was closer now. Every move was riskier, but risk was no longer frightening. It was thrilling, because for once, she wasn't the one in control. I was. The climax of this part came one rainy night. She burst through the door, her face pale, her hair damp, her eyes wild. "We need to talk," she whispered. I closed my book slowly, keeping my breathing calm. "Of course." "About what?" Her hands shook. "Have you noticed anything strange lately? With us?" "Strange?" I almost laughed, but instead I tilted my head. "Strange? Like what?" She bit her lip. "Just strange. I feel like someone is trying to ruin me."
Ah,
There it was. The confession without confession. The fear without truth. I looked at her gently, almost pitying.
don't worry.
If we're honest with each other, no one can ruin us. Her eyes widened, searching my face, desperate to know if I meant more than I said. But I just smiled and let the silence crush her. That night, I lay awake listening to the storm outside. Every drop of rain against the window felt like a drumbeat of war. She was unraveling, and I was just beginning. The danger was everywhere now. Her suspicion, his doubt, the possibility of discovery. But there was no turning back. The first move of revenge had hit, and the ripples were turning into waves. The house no longer felt like a home. Every smile between us was fake. Every word measured. Every glance filled with unspoken accusations. She moved through the rooms like a ghost, her phone glued to her palm, her mind elsewhere. And me? I played the part of the loving, oblivious husband. But underneath, I was watching her fall apart. The next crack came at dinner. Her fork clattered onto the plate, and she stared at me as if I were a stranger. "Do you ever wonder what people would think of us?" she asked. I chewed slowly, pretending to think. People? Why would they think anything? Her lips trembled. They might misunderstand. They might believe things that aren't true. I looked at her carefully, letting silence stretch. And what would they believe? She couldn't answer. Her throat tightened, her eyes burned with fear. Because she knew I already knew. The next day, I made my second move. I created a new email address. From it, I sent Daniel 2 photographs. One of him laughing with her outside a cafe. Another, her hand brushing his arm, her eyes glowing. The subject line: "Does she laugh like this at home?" No signature, no explanation. Just the truth, stripped bare. The reaction was swift. That night, she was hysterical, pacing, crying, her hands pulling at her hair. "I think someone is stalking me," she whispered, her voice breaking. "Someone's taking pictures of me." I widened my eyes, feigning shock.
What?
"That's terrible. Who would do that?" She clutched my arm, her nails digging into my skin. Her desperation almost made me pity her. Almost. But pity doesn't erase betrayal. The chaos grew. Her phone calls turned into arguments. I overheard snippets. "No, I can't meet you anymore, it's too dangerous. I don't know who's watching, maybe he knows."
He. Me.
The seed of doubt was destroying them both. And the beauty was, neither could prove a thing. Still, the danger pressed closer. What if Daniel traced the email? What if she accused me openly? What if others got dragged in? But the thrill of it, the taste of power, it outweighed the fear. For years, I had lived in her shadow, in her deception. Now, she lived in mine. The breaking point came on a Saturday. She burst into the living room, tears streaming down her face. "You know, don't you?" she shouted. "You know everything." I stood slowly, my face calm. "What are you talking about?" Her fists clenched. "Stop pretending. The messages, the photos, who else would do it? Who else could?" Finally, she said it. Finally, the mask was gone. I smiled faintly. "Funny. I thought you didn't have anything to hide." Her face crumbled. Her knees buckled. And she collapsed onto the floor, sobbing. For a moment, I almost bent down to comfort her. Almost. But I stopped myself. Because this wasn't about comfort. This was about truth. "Do you love him?" I asked quietly. Her sobs choked in her throat. She couldn't answer. And in that silence, I had my answer. The fallout spread quickly. She avoided Daniel. Daniel sent desperate messages. Her work suffered.
Her health declined.
Friends began to whisper. Family started to notice. Something was wrong. Something was broken. And no one knew how to fix it, except me, because I had caused it. But even I began to wonder, how far will this go? What if she broke completely? What if Daniel exposed everything publicly? What if the whole world saw what I had uncovered? The danger was everywhere now. The storm was fully alive. And yet, as I watched her unravel piece by piece, I couldn't stop, because the first move of revenge had hit, and the ripples had become waves, crashing over every part of her life. And soon, those waves would drag us both into the deep. The room was too quiet, the kind of quiet that presses against your chest and makes it hard to breathe. She sat at the edge of the bed, hair falling over her face, her hands clutching her phone like it was the only thing keeping her alive. I stood by the window, staring out at the night sky. The stars didn't care about broken promises, about shattered love. They just burned, cold and distant. Finally, she whispered, "You know." Her voice trembled, but the words were sharp. I turned. My face was blank, but inside me, fire raged. Yes. Her lips parted. She wanted to explain, to deny, to twist the truth. But she saw it in my eyes. There was no more hiding. "How long?" I asked, my voice low. She flinched. "Please." "How long?" I snapped, louder this time. Her shoulders shook. "Months." The word was small, almost a breath, but it echoed like thunder in my head. Months. Months of lies. Months of her kissing me with his taste still on her lips. I laughed bitterly. "Months. And you thought I wouldn't notice?" Tears slipped down her cheeks. "I didn't mean for it to happen." "Don't." I cut her off. "Don't you dare insult me with that line. You meant it every time you answered his calls. Every time you snuck out to meet him. Every time you came home and looked me in the eye." She covered her face with her hands. "I was lonely. Lonely." That was her excuse. My chest tightened, but anger kept me steady. "Lonely?
You had me.
You had everything. And you chose him." Her voice cracked. "You don't know what it feels like to be invisible in your own marriage." The words sliced me open. For a moment, silence stretched between us, heavy and suffocating. Then I whispered, bitterly, "Invisible? I gave you everything. My love, my trust, my life. And you threw it away for him." She stood suddenly, her body trembling. "I didn't want to fall for him. I didn't." Her words broke. Her face crumpled. But I caught the slip, the unspoken truth hidden between her tears. "You love him," I said coldly. Her eyes widened. "No, I." "Say it," I demanded, stepping closer. "Look me in the eye and say you love him." Her lips trembled, but no words came out. And that silence told me everything. I clenched my fists. My voice shook with rage. "You didn't just betray me, you replaced me." She reached for me, desperate. "Please don't do this."
Don't.
I pulled back. "Don't touch me." Her face twisted with fear. "You're scaring me." I leaned closer, my voice a whisper sharp as glass.
Good.
The moment of revenge had been growing inside me for weeks. I had gathered everything, messages, photos, evidence. I had it all, and now I was ready. I pulled out my phone. Her eyes widened in horror. "No, you wouldn't." "Oh, I would." With one tap, I opened the folder. Dozens of screenshots. Proof of every lie. And then I hit send. Her family, her friends, his wife. All of them. Her phone buzzed violently, lighting up with notifications. One after another. Her face drained of color. No, please. "You can't do this," she screamed, falling to her knees. "You'll destroy me." I stared down at her, my voice cold. "You destroyed yourself." The messages poured in. Her mother, her sister,
Friends.
and then Daniel's wife calling. She screamed, throwing the phone against the wall. Her sobs ripped through the silence. "You've ruined my life," she cried. I stood tall, my eyes like stone.
No.
"I've shown them who you really are." She crawled toward me, her hands shaking. Please, we can fix this. We can pretend it never happened. Just don't let them know. Please." I bent down, my face inches from hers. "You want to pretend? You've been pretending for months. I'm done pretending." Her sobs grew louder. "You hate me." I whispered, almost gently.
No.
Hate would mean I still care. Hours passed in chaos. Her phone rang. Messages exploded across the screen. Her reputation, her lies, her carefully built world. It was crumbling. Finally, as dawn broke, she stuffed clothes into a bag. Her hands trembled so violently she could barely zip it shut. "I can't stay here," she whispered. "Not after this." I watched her, my arms crossed. "You think running will save you?" She shook her head, tears streaming. "I don't care. I just can't breathe in this house anymore." I stepped closer. "You wanted him. Go to him. But don't forget you chose this. Every lie, every kiss, every secret, you chose it. And now you live with it." Her hand lingered on the doorknob. She turned, her face broken. "I'm sorry. I didn't answer. I didn't move. I just watched her leave." And then there was silence again. But this silence wasn't peace. It was heavy, cold, hollow. Because I had won. But it didn't feel like victory. It felt like ashes. The house felt colder without her. Every corner echoed with the weight of what had been lost. the silence I had once begged for. Now, it pressed against me like a punishment. The bed was too big, the kitchen too empty. The laughter that used to fill these rooms had vanished, leaving only shadows. I thought I would feel relief after exposing her. I thought the fire of revenge would warm me, but instead, it left only ashes in my chest. At first, I told myself it was justice. I had done what any betrayed lover would do. I had ripped the mask from her face and shown the world the truth. But in the quiet nights, when the phone stopped buzzing and the world moved on, I was left with something far worse than anger. Emptiness. I would sit at the table with a cup of untouched coffee, staring at the door, half expecting her to walk in with that nervous smile she always wore when she tried to hide guilt. But she never did. Her family called me once. Her mother's voice was trembling. "Why did you do this?" she asked. "Couldn't you just let her go quietly?" I closed my eyes, gripping the phone tightly. She didn't just hurt me. She lied to all of us. Don't make me the villain for telling the truth. Her mother sighed, broken. "She's not the same anymore. You've destroyed her." The call ended, leaving me shaking. Had I destroyed her, or had she destroyed herself long before I revealed anything? The question haunted me. I saw her once, weeks later. She looked smaller somehow, her shoulders hunched, her eyes dull. She was crossing the street, clutching her coat tight against the cold. For a moment, my chest tightened. This was the woman I had once loved more than life itself. The woman I dreamed of marrying, of building a future with. And now, she looked like a stranger carrying the weight of her own choices.
She saw me.
Our eyes met across the road. For a second, I thought she would come over, that she would scream, cry, or beg again. But instead, she turned away, disappearing into the crowd. And I stood there, frozen, wondering if I had won, or if I had lost something I could never get back. Revenge is supposed to satisfy, but the truth is, it doesn't. It burns, it cuts, it destroys. And when the fire dies down, you're left staring at the ruins, wondering if you've only punished yourself in the process. I had exposed her. I had made sure she paid the price for her betrayal. But in the end, I also destroyed the part of myself that once believed in love without fear, in trust without question. Nights are the hardest. Sometimes I hear echoes of her laughter in my head. The way she used to lean on me when we watched movies. The way she whispered, "I love you," before falling asleep. Were those lies too? Or did she mean them, even for a little while? I don't know. And maybe I never will. What I do know is this. Revenge doesn't heal. It only carves the wound deeper, until the scar becomes part of who you are. People ask me if I regret it. If I regret exposing her, humiliating her, breaking her down the way she broke me. Sometimes I want to say yes. Other times I want to scream no, because she deserved it. But so did I. I deserved better than lies, than betrayal, than being made into a fool. So I live with the consequences, both hers and mine. Now, when I wake up in the morning, I remind myself,
She's gone.
the love I thought I had is gone, but I am still here.
I am scarred, yes.
But scars mean survival. And maybe one day, I will love again. Not with the blind trust of before, but with eyes open, heart guarded, and lessons carved deep into my soul. In the end, revenge didn't give me peace. It gave me truth. And sometimes, the truth is the heaviest burden of all. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more emotional English stories. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new upload that will touch your heart and help you improve your English step by step.